Well, welcome back to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna. In the last video, Plastic Surgery Part 2, at the end I had mentioned I was going to take a short break and I had to get some stuff done in the backyard for some water drainage. Well, the work is pretty extensive, so we're just going to hire a contractor. So I get to sit here and build models. Anyway, so here we are with Plastic Surgery Part 3. This one, or this video, is probably going to go fairly quick. I don't think it'll run a half an hour. Hopefully it won't run a half an hour. It is simply removing the radiator fans and the dynamic brake fans. So let's get right to work. Let me get the camera moved over, set up on my workspace, and we'll get right at it. With the camera set up here, you can see that I've milled off the fans for the radiator section and for the dynamic brake hatch. Now we'll talk about the dynamic brake hatch in a minute. For the radiator section, I use the same fixture as I used to do the doors. So just put the shell over the fixture, clamp it into the milling vise, and go and just cut these down. It went really well. This shell is probably about the most square shell that I've ever worked on in the mill. And what I mean by that is, when I cut this fan down, there was no to very, very minor, I mean we're talking maybe a half a thousandths difference between here and back here. So I was able to cut, finish, cut, finish, cut, finish without moving the mill or moving the bit up and down. So it was really nice, and the same goes for the dynamic brake hatch. It was really, really nice. These fans I was able to cut down to within a thousandths to half a thousandths to the hood, and then I used a chisel blade, and I just, with it square up against the hood, I just scraped the remnants of the fan base down, sanded it, wet sanded it, and it came out real nice. You have these cast-in circles, and I'll show you how to use those. I did have to lose the nut bolt washer detail for the fan hatch grab, but I have a plan for replacing that, so no worries there. That'll be taken care of. So let's move on to opening up these holes. I've got 3 of the hoods all done. Radiator and dynamic brake hatch, and I saved this one to show you the process that I go through. So the first process is to just cut them off, then clean up the fan base castings, which you really don't have to do right away. You can actually open the circles up, and that leaves less of a casting there to clean up. But I did it both ways. Like on the dynamic brake hatch, I will open them up and then I'll clean the fan base ring down to the surface of the dynamic brake hatch top. Now, what I had to do, I had to make 2 tools. This one here, so this diameter, the outer diameter, is the diameter that the Canon & Company instructions say the opening should be, and that's 0.563. It actually says 0.563 minimum to 0.585 maximum. So I went to the minimum because if I actually went slightly over during my sanding, I would still be within tolerance. You never want to go to the max tolerance on something like that when you're opening up a hole. So this is 0.563 diameter. Now the hole in the shell, I think it's this side is for a different model. I think I have one now for all manufacturers, and this side is for this model. So I had to cut this side, so it will fit right into the shell like that. So it doesn't move around. It's real snug. And do all 3. And then what I'll do is I'll take this pointy pin scriber, and I will go right up against the shell. I'll just do a little bit and show you what I do. So, let's see, is that out of focus? There we go. Let me back it off just a smidgen. There we go. So what I'll do is I'll take this pin scriber and I'll put right up against it, and I'll just press into it. And I'll do that all the way around, and it'll leave a mark where I need to open the hole up to. After I've scribed all of these, then I'll take the gouger. I call it the gouger. That's this thing. It's a router. You can get these bits at Micromark. I just buy them. I bought them in the set. And I'll go in there, and you have to be careful with this, because if it gets loose and it starts chattering, it'll pull out and you'll gouge everything around it. So I'll just go in and hold it firmly, and I'll just go in there and I'll route out to the line that I scribed. So that, and then that'll take care of that. Then when that's done, what I do is I have this medium sized or this large size X-Acto handle. I wrap a piece of sanding paper around it and tape it. That will go in the hole. It'll fit into that'll go in the hole, and then I'll just sand it, go around and, you know, sand it to finish off up to my scribe line. Because I won't cut all the way up to the scribe line with the gouger, but I'll finish it off with this. And then I'll just do some fine sanding and testing, and I've got my test fit fan base here. I know it's a dynamic brake fan, but the diameter for the opening is the same for radiators and dynamic brakes. And I'll just keep fitting it until it fits in perfectly. So that takes care of that. So I'll go ahead and get that done. Then, with the dynamic brake hatch, the fans are molded lower. In the radiators, the fans are molded up higher, so when I cut it off, it cuts the fans off also. In the dynamic brake hatch, the fans are molded with the level with the surface of the top of the hatch. So they're sitting in there, and basically, you see, I didn't mean to cut them out yet, but I went a little too far, getting all happy that I was getting done with these. So, you know, you cut the fans out, throw that piece away. Cut the fan out, throw that piece away. So now you're left with that. Then what I'll do, and you want to try, or what I want to do is, I don't want to cut the molded circular surface. I only want to cut these tabs out. Then what I'll do is I'll go in with this sanding stick again, and I'll just barely sand it enough to allow this tool, another one of these, this is .563 diameter, and then this diameter will fit that hole perfectly. And then I'll scribe, I'll use a gouger, cut it out, and get it all sanded down, and it'll be done. Now to cut this off, I had to make another tool, and that's this tool. So this one, basically I've got little grooves or channels cut here and here, and that'll be for the snaps on the inside of the dynamic brake hatch. So take those, snap them down, and it holds it in place, and there's no flex in the top of the hatch. So I can put that in the milling vise, mill it, bring it over here, and do all the things that I just showed you. Now again, the really nice thing about this hatch is it's level across. I can cut these all the way across, and there's no high or low spots. It's even pretty much all the way across. So Scale Trains did a really good job on molding these roofs really flat. So that's good. So then to get this off, I just slide it forward, take a fingernail under there, and pop it right off. It comes right off. So that's the fixture for that. So I'll go ahead and get these done. Well, actually, I don't even need to do that. I can end this video right here and show you one that's done. So this is what it's going to look like when it's all done. The holes are opened up properly. It's all sanded down on the radiator hatch and the dynamic brake hatch. I'm not going to put the fans in yet. I'll do that when it's time to build. And as you can see, the fans just fit in perfectly. So that pretty much takes care of plastic surgery part 2, or I'm sorry, part 3. So I'll go ahead and get this one done, and I'll be all done with that, and then I can move on to the last part, plastic surgery part 4. Well, you know, maybe I will do a little bit more since this video ran fast. So let me just, you know, I'll do a little bit of work. You can see how I do it and such. So I'll do it really quick, little sections, and then finish everything off and move on to the next, show it, move on to the next, and we'll be done. So like I said, I don't want to cut the inside surface. I just want to cut these tabs off. So I'll just go in here, a sharp knife, and just slice along there. Just like that. So let me I'll cut 2 more off, and we'll shut the camera off, and I'll get it done, and we'll move on to the next step. So I just want to keep doing that, cutting these tabs off. Alright, so I have the tabs all trimmed off. Now it's time to just clean that inner surface up so that I can put the scribing tool in. So I'll take the sanding stick here that I made. It's really tight to get it into this hole here. There we go. Is that getting it? That's not in focus. Let's get that in focus. There we go. Okay, now I just need to carefully sand the inside. Make sure I stay on camera here. And I don't want to take too much off. I just want to take enough off to get that. A second. Get my. Now let's see if it fits. Fits perfectly in there. So I'll go ahead and get this one done, and then we'll go scribe it. Alright, so now I've got the holes opened up so that the tool will fit into both of them snugly. Push it down. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit here. Okay, so now I'm going to scribe this, pressing down on the tool and up on the hatch so that I have a nice positive contact between the tool and the hatch. We'll go in and we'll scribe the line. Now I don't just go around like in one shot. I do it in small sections because I don't want this tool to slip, the scriber to slip. And because the tool fits snug into the hole, I don't have to worry about it going out of round. And there we have the scribed line. Now if you I don't know if I can get any closer here. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see how little, once I cut up to the scribed line, how little is left of the original fan hatch area. That'll be very, very easy to take off when all this is cut out. So I'll go ahead and get this one scribed. Now it's time for the gouger. So I'm not going to show you the whole thing on here because I need to get close to this, but I'll show you a little bit on how it works, and hopefully it won't chatter and climb out and gouge up the whole thing. So let me see if I can get this on camera properly. Let me move this here. Sorry about that, guys. Let me see, get this all lined up. Okay, here we go. I've got the setting on number 4. So that's basically the process, and I'll go all the way around, and I go right up just to the inside edge of that scribe line, excuse me, and then using this we'll clean it up. So I'll get these both rough cut. We'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll move on to the last step. Well, the rough cut is done. You can see there's about a lot of slough down in the back, so what I'll do is I'll take a sharp X-Acto knife blade and I'll just run it around the inside, clean that off, and we're ready to take the sanding stick again. And I've got a reference. I can still barely see the scribe line, so I'm just going to go in and do that. So I'm going to do that off camera. You see the process. I'll clean up both of them, and when I'm done, you'll see them all cleaned up and ready for the fans. Now we're done. So this has been opened up, cleaned up with the sanding tool, and now the dynamic brake fans drop right in. There was a very, very small remnants of the fan base, so I used the chisel blade and just scraped it clean, used a sanding stick, wet sanded it, and everything's perfect now. So these pop right into where they're supposed to be. Now what's interesting, I don't know if it's interesting, and you only see this if you're up close with these things. I have to say I don't really care much for manufacturers trying to be quote unquote true to scale, because you've got these bolt heads here and they're so tiny you really can't see them. I wouldn't mind them if they were slightly oversized, but one thing they missed, this is the leading edge, so there's no bolts from here until you hit the first one here. There should be another one right there. And it's the same on the other side. So they missed one bolt head on each side. And I thought it was because I cleaned it off, but looking at all the hatches before I did anything, they're missing that bolt head. But like I said, you can't see it unless you've got glasses on and you're looking that close. I don't even know if you'll notice it with paint on. These bolt heads are so small. I like how Kato does it with their dynamic brake hatches. They have a nice stout bolt head, so you can actually see it. Weathering helps to pick it out and stuff, but man, these are so small. They might be true to scale, but I don't think, in my opinion, everything scales out well in scale when you try to bring stuff to scale. So certain things I like to see, and that's one of them. I like to see the bolt head. So that one's done. I'm going to go ahead and get this all done, and then we'll finish up with this video. Well, finishing up that last shell takes care of plastic surgery part 3. So I've got the radiator hatches cleaned up and the holes opened up for cannon fans. I've got the dynamic brake hatches cleaned up and opened up for cannon fans. Well, I hope you enjoyed plastic surgery part 3. It was pretty basic. A lot of us do this as far as removing fans and putting cannon fans on and stuff. I just do it with machine tools because I like how it cleans up the surfaces and makes everything smooth and parts go together better. So in the final episode of plastic surgery, which will be plastic surgery part 4, we'll be taking this block and making it fit into the cab. I need to build a fixture to hold the cab. There's 3 cabs that I need to cut, and I will get this done and we'll get started on plastic surgery part 4. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll catch you in the next episode.